Week 2 of 10 in the abbreviated NFL season, and the story was this. Teams that did well in Week 1 struggled in Week 2, and vice versa. Exhibit A here in New England, the Patriots, who got decimated by the Dolphins in Week 1 this time, win on Thursday Night Football against the Giants 20-6. Cam Newton, a solid game. The Giants scored 31 against Washington in Week 1. This time could only muster 6 against the New England defense. Tough day for Daniel Jones after not turning over the ball at all in Week 1. He throws 3 picks all in the first half, while Cam Newton threw for 2 scores and 187 yards. Giants were without Saquon Barkley in this game. He got hurt against Washington halfway through that game. Devontae Freeman played, but guess what? He got hurt after having 90 yards in the third quarter. He is likely out next week, so the Giants might have to turn to Wayne Gallman as their starting back in their Week 3 contest against Dallas. And on the receiving end of things, how about Wayne Gallman, the running back, 7 catches for 80 yards. Solid performance for him. For the Patriots, Julian Edelman caught 2 touchdowns. Eagles and Jets facing off on the first game on Sunday, and look at this. Carson Wentz, a beauty, a floater to Deshaun Jackson for the score to give the Eagles the early lead at MetLife Stadium. And similar story, the Eagles, 404 yards from Carson Wentz. That was more than any quarterback this week. The Eagles bounced back from their loss to the Cowboys to beat the Jets 37-20 after the Jets crushed the Bills in Week 1. Sam Darnold was accurate, 20 for 26, but only 145 yards. Had to turn to a lot of checkdowns, also got picked off. And Carson Wentz threw 4 interceptions. That's the concern for the Eagles. That's why this wasn't a blowout. Wentz threw 4 picks. He threw a couple against the Cowboys as well, so 6 interceptions through 2 games. But the Eagles are 1-1, and he did throw for 404 yards. The thing the Jets can be excited about, another strong performance from Le'Veon Bell. He has more rushing yards than any other running back in the NFL so far. 260 yards through 2 games, 132 in this one, while Miles Sanders ran for 121 and a score for the Eagles. And lastly, these quarterbacks were thrown at around. Brashad Perriman's 8 catches, 77 yards for the Jets. For the Eagles, 8 catches for 87 for Alshon Jeffrey. Deshaun Jackson and Greg Ward each had touchdown catches. Greg Ward left the game, though, and will be out next week with a wrist injury. Zach Ertz, 6 catches, 107 yards.
Use your timeout in order to get the ball back and try and score yourself.
Look at this juke by Zach Moss for the Bills, making people miss and getting free. It came down to the wire in Buffalo. Cowboys and Bills, 20 seconds left here. Dak Prescott on 1st and goal, dumps it off to Zeke Elliott. He gets tied up, and they have no timeouts. And the Cowboys hustling to the line. They are not going to get there in time. And the Bills take the win 21-13 over the defending NFC champs. A heartbreaking loss for Dallas. And I forgot, Dak Prescott also threw for 400 yards. He actually had more than Wentz, 407 yards, 3 interceptions though. On the other side, Josh Allen bounced back. Josh Allen only had just over 100 yards against the Jets, this time 233, to keep the Bills in this one and ultimately get them the victory. Ezekiel Elliott, a solid game, 21 carries, 115 yards, while Darren Singletary ran for 2 scores for Buffalo. Amari Cooper led the way on the receiving side, 9 catches, 148 yards. The rookie CeeDee Lamb, 6 for 91. And Stephon Diggs, 4 catches, 109 yards for Buffalo. This was not a good day for Tua Tagovailoa. Here gets picked off, and Washington takes it all the way back for the touchdown to give the Washington football team a 17-0 lead in the second quarter. It was all Washington in this one. We're up 24-0 in the third quarter, ended up winning 31-6. It's a tough game overall for Tua Tagovailoa. Alex Smith, despite getting benched in the first half in Week 1, got the start again from Ron Rivera, threw for 193 yards. Tua still threw for 213, but had those 2 interceptions, including that pick 6 we showed you a moment ago. On the rushing side, how about the veteran Peyton Barber, 23 carries and 82 yards and a score for Washington. Miami was led by Jordan Howard. In terms of receiving, Devontae Parker, 7 catches, 67 yards. Highest receiver for Washington was Harmon, 4 catches for 54 yards. Thaddeus Moss, after that huge week last week with the 160 yards, just 3 catches for 32 yards in Week 2. But this time it did result in a Washington win. So all 8 teams in the East divisions in the AFC and NFC are 1-1 through 2 weeks. Packers-Lions came down to the wire, and it came down to the leg of Mason Crosby. 42 seconds left, puts through the game-winning field goal to give the Packers a 20-17 victory at Ford Field. It was another pretty quiet game for Aaron Rodgers. He turned it on in the fourth quarter, threw for 130 yards in the fourth. For the second straight week, he was below 100 passing yards in the fourth quarter, but picked it up and threw a late touchdown to tie it up, and then ended up giving them the game-winning drive that led to the Crosby field goal. Matt Stafford, a solid game, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. What a week for Aaron Jones, though. 146 yards on the ground, had more than 100 at halftime. As for the Lions, their leading rusher was actually Matt Stafford with 11 yards on 3 runs, and also fumbled. Devontae Adams with a strong performance after that quiet game against Cleveland, where the entire Green Bay offense was so quiet and they lost at home. 8 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown. TJ Hawkinson had 7 catches for 85 and a score to lead the Lions. Both of these teams are 1-1. It was a mess from the start for the Jaguars as they fall to 0-2. The Panthers pick up their first victory, 31-15 the final in Carolina. Teddy Bridgewater, 17 for 23, 205 yards and a touchdown. Gardner Minshew got benched after 2 first-half interceptions. Dan Jeffries from UAB came in, not much better. Jaguars really just couldn't get anything going on offense. It was a huge week for Christian McCaffrey. Remember, the Panthers' offense was so bad in Week 1 against the Falcons. This time, 31 carries, 158 yards, and a touchdown. Chris Thompson held to just 41 yards after a really good performance in Week 1 against Indianapolis for the Jags. On the receiving end, D.D. Westbrook got most of the targets from Jacksonville. 10 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. Carolina's leading receiver was Thomas, 4 catches for 45 yards. Christian McCaffrey just had 3 for 24. Battle of unbeatens here between the Colts and the Falcons. Look at this late game throw by Phillip Rivers, a minute left, to find T.Y. Hilton 59 yards down the left sideline for the go-ahead score. Desperation heave here by Matt Ryan on the first play, and look at this catch by Julio Jones to keep it alive for the Falcons with 43 seconds left. An unbelievable catch by Julio Jones. Unfortunately, though, the Falcons would come up short on that drive, and the Colts would take the victory 34-27 to move to 2-0 on the season. Matt Ryan was picked off on that final drive, his only pick of the game. How about Phillip Rivers? 396 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. Really strong performance for Rivers in just his second start as a member of the Colts. Neither team got much going on the ground game. Todd Gurley ran for 43 yards on 23 carries, while Jonathan Taylor led the way with 45 yards for the Colts. There's Zach Pascal, who had 8 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Unfortunately for the Colts, though, they did lose Paris Williams for the next few weeks due to an Achilles injury, so they did lose one of their primary targets. But T.Y. Hilton and Pascal should be able to pick up some of the slack in his absence. Let's get into one of our games of the week in New Orleans. The Saints looking to get to 2-0 after knocking off the Buccaneers in week number 1. On the other side, the Texans had that horrible loss to the Titans where they were up by 17 at home in the fourth quarter and blew it in overtime. Texans looking to bounce back here in a big game in the Superdome. First quarter here, Drew Brees under center. The Saints driving down the field. A toss play to Latavius Murray, who goes towards the corner of the end zone and gets in for his first touchdown since 2018. Then here on 2nd and goal for the Texans, trying to answer back. Deshaun Watson gets drilled by Cameron Jordan, but the screen pass to David Johnson works. He's in for the touchdown to tie the score up. Here Drew Brees trying to step away, fires, and finds Jared Cook for his second touchdown catch of the season to give the Saints the lead right back early in the second quarter. Deshaun Watson on the other end here responds, runs it into the end zone, gets free, and scores to tie the game up at 14. Kai Forbath here to kick a field goal to give the Texans the lead late in the second quarter. Puts it right through from just 24 yards away. Texans would actually get down the field and have a chance to score once more before the half. Here it's Deshaun Watson throwing to the back of the end zone. Will Fuller keeps the feet in, makes the catch. The Texans would be up 24-14 at the half. But then on the other side, Traquan Smith with the catch here on the touchdown. So a little update on what happened with the Saints. Drew Brees got hurt in the second quarter, came out for a couple of drives. Taysom Hill had to play quarterback. threw a couple of picks. That's how the Texans got the ball back so much in the second quarter. Brees comes back in, ribs are sore, but makes that nice throw to Traquan Smith, who catches his second touchdown of the season. Texans drive stalls out. Here the Saints turn to a field goal from Will Lutz to tie things up at 24 late in the third quarter. After Drew Brees got sacked and was a little slow to get up, Will Lutz comes in for another field goal. This one the go-ahead shot to give the Saints a 27-24 advantage in the fourth. Then Deshaun Watson here throws back of the end zone. It is caught for a touchdown. Brandon Cooks with the catch to make it 30-27. Then here Drew Brees in motion throws a touchdown to guess who? Jared Cook, who has 3 receiving touchdowns already this season. A late game score, again a crusher for the Texans as the Saints go up. And the Texans could not muster anything else. They let another late lead slip away, and the Saints moved to 2-0, a 34-31 victory. As you can see statistically, it wasn't great for Taysom Hill when Brees was out. 3 for 6, 42 yards, and 2 interceptions. There's been rumors, though, about if Brees might sit week 3 with these rib injuries. You know, they're playing the Panthers, so it should be an easier contest. And the other side, Deshaun Watson, I mean, he had a great game. 30 for 34, 232 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Drew Brees wasn't as accurate, but got the job done. A lot of guys put up some big numbers on the ground. Alvin Kamara here, 21 carries, 151 yards. Just in the 1 o'clock games alone, 5 guys ran for at least 100 yards. Kamara, McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders, and Le'Veon Bell. And wrapping up on Saints-Texans, despite a really quiet game from Michael Thomas, he had 3 catches for 23 yards against Tampa. Here, 9 catches, 92 yards. Brandon Cooks and Randall Cobb had solid games for Houston. Bengals on top of the Browns early, but A.J. Green gets clobbered and would head to the sidelines for a bit. He would return to the game, though, in the second half. Browns, late. Baker Mayfield throwing a Hail Mary, gets the distance, but knocked away from Odell Beckham Jr. in the final seconds, and the Bengals stun the Browns 27-21. And you look at the statistics for Joe Burrow, bouncing back from the 4-interception game against the Lions on Thanksgiving. Here, just no interceptions, and threw for 2 scores, 29 for 36. Baker Mayfield struggled a bit in the first half, picked it up in the second half, but it was not enough to get Cleveland a victory. The Browns have only scored 1 offensive touchdown with Baker Mayfield through 2 games. That's a bit concerning. Baker's only thrown for 1 score. Nick Chubb has 2 touchdowns, including both of them coming in week 2. 16 carries, 96 yards. Joe Mixon with a solid game as well for the Bengals. And lastly, how about C.J. Uzomah, the tight end for the Bengals? 8 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Odell Beckham, 5 catches for 63 for Cleveland. We head into the 4 o'clock slate here. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs facing off with the Chargers. Chiefs trying to bounce back from that loss against Seattle in week 1. And Tyreek Hill makes an incredible sliding catch in the back left corner of the end zone. That would end up being the nail in the coffin to give the Chiefs a late 2-score advantage in LA. Look at the catch there by Tyreek Hill. And they reviewed it, and he got both feet in. Despite the loss, Justin Herbert continues to impress as a rookie quarterback. Only one of the 3 rookies to be good both weeks. 4 touchdowns, no picks this time around. And he kept them in it against Kansas City. 305 total yards. On the other side, Pat Mahomes really bounced back from a tough performance against Seattle. 231 and 3 touchdowns. And we talked about the good running backs in the 1 o'clock slate. Oh, just wait for this 4 o'clock slate. And you start with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the rookie, who had so much trouble against Seattle. Comes up strong, 153 yards on the ground and a touchdown for Kansas City. And the story in this game with the 2 receivers. Mike Williams, 10 catches, 121 yards, 3 touchdowns for the Chargers. Tyreek Hill, 779 and 3 scores of his own. Chiefs get to 1-1. Chargers are 0-2. But out of all the 0-2 teams, they seem the most sound. And they look like poised to get a win very, very soon. Broncos bounced back after getting shellacked by the Rams in week 1 for a 27-24 win over the Las Vegas Raiders. Brett Rypien got benched after week 1. Drew Lock still unavailable due to injury. So Jeff Driscoll, 24 for 37, 281 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. It was enough as Derek Carr has a solid game, but just could not get enough completions. Only 15 completions in the game. Melvin Gordon, 26 carries, 142 yards, and a touchdown. The Raiders, though, lost Josh Jacobs in the first quarter due to an ankle injury. He ran for 192 yards against the Cardinals in Week 1, and he might miss a couple weeks. They turned to Jalen Richard, who managed a 100-yard rushing game of his own. The Raiders have the best rushing attack of any team in the NFL so far through 2 weeks. The rookie Jerry Jeudy, 7 catches, 71 yards. Solid game for him as the Broncos get to 1-1. Current standings of the AFC West. All the standings, by the way, are in the description of the video, but the Chiefs, Broncos, and Raiders all at 1-1. Chargers at 0-2. NFC West contest here. 2 1-0 teams. Seahawks and 49ers. Look at this throw by Russell Wilson to DK Metcalf deep in the end zone. Already Wilson's 4th passing touchdown of the game. Seattle would be up 28-10 at this point. Seahawks actually blew a 21-point lead in the 4th quarter, though, but Seattle was able to still prevail. Jimmy G led a huge comeback, but the Seahawks and their likely MVP candidate quarterback Russell Wilson, 38-31 over the Niners. So Wilson already 8 total touchdowns and 1 turnover through 2 games. I mean, he is probably the leading favorite. Him or Ben Roethlisberger. We'll get to Ben later on. But Russell Wilson, 24 for 33, 369 yards, 5 touchdowns. Jimmy Garoppolo on the other side, 335 yards and 2 touchdowns. Really solid game after San Francisco only got 13 points against the Chargers defense in Week 1. Chris Carson with a 100-yard rushing game, 31 carries, 119 yards. San Francisco led by Raheem Mostert, 19 carries, 61 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyler Lockett, the NFL's leading receiver through 2 weeks. This time, 8 catches, 147 yards, 3 touchdowns. DK Metcalf caught the other 2 Russell Wilson throws for the touchdowns. We don't have highlights of it, but the Rams made a very questionable decision with 8 seconds left, ball on the 10-yard line. Rather than just kick the field goal then, they had 1 timeout left. They decided to try to throw to the end zone and try to win it. Jared Goff gets picked off, and the Cardinals win 20-17. Neither quarterback was great in this game. Kyler Murray has not looked too good through the first 2 weeks of the season after a really solid rookie campaign. But Jared Goff, a QBR of 24 after getting a QBR of 130 against Denver in Week 1, 19 for 39, 196 yards and 4 interceptions. The one promising thing for the Rams coming in, Robert Woods was actually made healthy. He actually played despite that knee injury he suffered in Week 1. He still played in this game. Limited opportunities on the field, though, and the Rams couldn't capitalize. Honestly, with how bad as the entire Rams offense was in this game, it's amazing it came down to the final play. The Cardinals, Kenyon Drake was their leading rusher, but he actually suffered a foot injury in the 3rd quarter, and he might miss Week 3. And Robert Woods had 192 yards against Denver last week. This time, 6 catches, 78 yards. Really, the only times he was on the field, he got targeted, and he made the catches. It was very impressive. DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald, 2 great receivers with good performances despite Kyler Murray's struggles. CBS game of the week, this was a good one. Tennessee facing off with Tampa Bay, Tom Brady's first home game. And then here, Corey Davis with the receiving touchdown from Ryan Tannehill to even the score in the 2nd quarter. 4th quarter, Bucs in dire need of a stop. It's Evans, not Derrick Henry. It's Evans making the play, getting to the end zone for the touchdown to make it 25-13. Final chance here for Tampa Bay. A deep throw is picked off by Malcolm Butler, the former Super Bowl hero. 27-20, the Titans hang on, and the Buccaneers are 0-2. Tom Brady had more incompletions than any quarterback so far this season, with 6th in the NFL in passing yards with 335, tied with Jimmy Garoppolo, but 20 for 46 just isn't going to cut it, especially against that potent Tennessee offense. In a week of strong running, Derrick Henry only had 67 yards, but Darrington Evans from Appalachian State, 37 yards and a touchdown was huge for this team. Tom Brady did throw a touchdown, though. The 1 touchdown for the 2nd straight week went to Mike Evans, who led the way, 7 catches, 146 yards, and a score. So we're saving the highlights of Sunday Night Football, Steelers-Ravens, which was the best game by far so far this season, even better than that Chiefs-Seahawks game in Week 1. We're going to save that for a separate video. We will tell you the Steelers did prevail in that game, and Ben Roethlisberger, a huge reason why, 33 for 44, 359 yards and 4 touchdowns. So we'll skip to a snowy Monday night at Soldier Field where the Bears ripping out trickery on the attempted field goal. A fake goes to Jimmy Graham on a direct snap, and they even up the score on the first play of the second quarter. Mitchell Trubisky had a great game in this one, at home in the snow. Here he throws, and guess who? Jimmy Graham, this time a receiving touchdown. 24-21, Bears go up on top. But Minnesota would not be denied. First play of the drive, Adam Thielen trying to get free, gets dragged down at the 2-yard line. A 73-yard completion by Kirk Cousins. And here, Cousins trying to end the Monday Night Football curse. He'll just take it himself casually into the end zone, gets nailed, but gets in for the go-ahead game-winning score. And the Vikings would go on to win this one 28-24. Bears are 0-2, but I mean, they've played 2 really good teams in Pittsburgh and Minnesota so far. Mitchell Trubisky with a solid game threw for 255 yards and a touchdown. Kirk Cousins struggled early, but had a great fourth quarter. Dalvin Cook, 166 yards, not a surprise, but the big surprise here, Mitchell Trubisky ran for 125 yards and a touchdown. And finally, Anthony Miller led the way in receiving yards, but of course the story for the Bears was Jimmy Graham's 2 touchdown catches, and for the Vikings, that huge catch by Adam Thielen. So that's all for the highlights right now. We'll have highlights of Steelers-Ravens separately, the great Sunday night game, and soon we'll have Week 3.